Good morning, everyone. This is Father Alex Salazar, IVE priest, missioning in Canada. And today is July 17th, 2024. And it is the Wednesday of the 15th week of Ordinary Time. And our gospel comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verses 25 to 27. At that time, Jesus exclaimed, "I give praise to you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth. For although you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to the childlike. Yes, Father, such has been your gracious will. All things have been handed over to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son wishes to reveal him." The Gospel of the Lord. In today's Gospel, our Lord makes a great prayer of gratitude for those who have come to believe in Him, the Father, as with childlike faith. That this prayer of gratitude is obviously not for Himself, as He's not complimenting Himself for the good works that God has done in Him, nor is it specifically directed towards the Father. Again, it is a prayer of gratitude, but it's rather a prayer of example for us, so that we may see and recognize the type of faith that we must have, the childlike faith and the childlike humility that we should have. That this passage goes only to show that our Lord delights in the simplicity, the humility, and the trust of our prayers, not so much in the knowledge or the learned, how learned we are with regards to the faith. As the Gospel says, "Because you have hidden these things from the wise and the intelligent, and have revealed them to the childlike." In those days, we know that a child, similarly to the case for women, that they were not accounted for, as was in the case of the miracle of the multiplication of bread and fish, that the women were not accounted for, the children were not accounted for, that they were considered inferior status. And our Lord now does not place the Pharisees nor the scribes as a model of faith, but instead He places the children as a model of faith. This must have been a very shocking and striking, we can say, teaching for those who heard it, because those who were considered insignificant now are placed at the pedestal of the model of faith. And St. John Chrysostom points out also in this gospel, he says, in calling them, that is, the scribes and the Pharisees, wise, He does not speak of true wisdom, but of that which they imagine they possess by their own ability. That they imagine that they possess knowledge, skills, talents, all of these things they attributed to themselves and not to God. And that is what made them fools. In other words, our Lord shows that it's not important to be book smart, or to be very learned in all the scriptures or memorize all the scriptures, if we don't have the practical value of these things. That is the humility, the virtue of humility, the virtue of trust, right? And simple faith. That is all given to us by the grace of God. That in one thing we can be very learned, understand, teach the mysteries of the faith, but it's another thing to live out our faith. Not only because we can say a person is very eloquent in their speech or very learned in their studies of the mysteries, does it make him a saint, but rather what makes a saint is the simplicity, the genuineness, the humility of their faith. That is, to have the faith as a child. St. Paul also tells us in his letter to the Corinthians, says, "If anyone among you thinks he is wise in this world, let him become a fool in order to become wise." That is, let him neglect everything that he knows, so that he may come to accept the true faith, we can say, with great humility as a child. When a person is humble, he or she is able to overcome any stubbornness with regards to their own perspective or their own opinions about things, and they are able to accept the light and the great wisdom of God. That many people confuse this for being naive or negligent in the faith. And that's not true. That a childlike faith, a very simple faith, one that just believes, says, I believe now, I will probably understand later, but right now I believe. And that's what a child does. He says, I don't understand why my mother or my father tells me to do such a thing, or these things or that thing, but I will accept that now. I will understand later, and that's usually what our parents tell us. You won't understand now, but later you will thank me. And that's kind of how it happens with us and God. Right now, we don't necessarily understand everything of the faith, but we accept it as coming from God. We trust in God, but later we will understand. And so let us ask God, through the intercession of our Blessed Mother, for the grace to have that childlike faith, to be humble, to be simple in our faith, and to trust in God.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing the gospel and homily, I invite you to share it with someone you know who may also find it rewarding, and also to subscribe to the Catholic Voice channel. Please see in the description below if you would like to receive a text message for each daily gospel and homily. Please also keep our missionary priests throughout the world in your prayers. Thank you, and God bless.